Welcome back to my channel, guys. I'm David Zachary Mazzei. This is the MF5 Superlight. I'm really excited to show you guys this dyno footage. This is the second test session of this car. Last year we were on the dyno. We had this 106 millimeter phenomenal turbocharger by Garrett, the G57, and the car did really well, made a lot of horsepower. We could have kept cranking it up, but I wanted it to be more efficient on the top end, and it looked like our compressor was overspinning based on the data. So we put this 119 millimeter wheel on from Forced Induction Systems. They did a tremendous job on the turbocharger. We also had it T51R modded and polished by some really good guys. And so now we're going back to the dyno to test this again and see if we get some more top end out of the car. I just want to get this thing perfect. So before we drove the car, we need to take the nose off and we need to make sure that everything looks good. We have to check the brakes, the master cylinder reservoirs. We need to check the air pump and the tank that's under the hood for the hydraulic system, make sure that the oil coolers and all the fittings look good. So we're taking off the nose here and we're having a look at all of the systems under the hood. So first we had to decide, how are we gonna get the car out there? Can we trailer this thing out there? That's what we usually do. Why don't we just do it? Let's just drive the damn thing. If it can't make it to the dyno, then it doesn't need to be tuned on the dyno. So we just made it to Jim's dyno, Motivation Motorsports. Just pulled it up and we're getting it strapped on the rollers right now. Drove it all the way from the shop, about an hour. And we're gonna see what happens here.
Sign removal for this car is necessary. The exhaust energy that comes out the back is just perfect to blow these down, and I'd really rather not sacrifice them, so we'll remove them for the dyno session.
Anybody else that you have to do this for?
Not very often.
Hey guys, this is my daily driver. It's a 2017 Chevrolet Impala, and I'm having a misfire on one of the cylinders. Usually you have to diagnose this by manually pulling the spark plug wire off each cylinder to figure out which one is going bad and then replace that coil pack. But luckily today I can save some time by having this secret weapon called a Carly. Carly is an OBD2 scanner using Bluetooth to your phone. So I'm simply going to plug this into my OBD2 diagnostic port on the car right below my steering wheel. We're gonna log in and connect with Bluetooth, and then we're gonna scan, and Carly will tell me which cylinder is misfiring. So now that I'm connected to the Carly app on my phone, I can run the detailed diagnostic check, which will show all present and historical codes on the vehicle. Then I can use the Smart Mechanic feature, which will give me a detailed explanation about the current misfire. At the bottom of this page, you can see that it clearly indicates that it's cylinder number 1. This saves me much time and hassle, as I know exactly which cylinder is at fault, and now I can easily replace that coil pack and have the car back on the road. Being that I'm a race car tuner, I'm always interested in data, and so another feature that's really cool to me is the live data feature. As you can see here, there's many different channels that we can actually view in real time. Some of these that are really interesting to me are the short-term fuel trim corrections that we can see on bank 1 and bank 2. We can also look at throttle position. We can look at the drive-by-wire accelerator pedal position, all sorts of values that pertain to the tune of the car to give us an idea of how it's running. So Carly can do more than just diagnostics. On many new cars, it also supports this thing called coding, and it lets you unlock and customize factory settings. Things like your lighting, your comfort features, display options, stuff like that, and you can do it all directly from your phone without having to take a trip to the dealership. So I just took it for a test drive. She's running nice and smooth. I replaced the coil pack on cylinder number 1. Thanks to Carly, I was able to see specifically what the problem was really quickly. And you guys got to get one of these. So use discount code Mazzei15. That's Mazzei 15. Again, that's Mazzei 15. Mazzei 15. So what I'm doing here is I'm working on the flat shifting of the transaxle. So this is a Hollinger MXT transaxle, which is a sequential, and it's a dog box. So it means that the gears engage with dog rings. And not to get too complicated on this, but basically when the engine is accelerating and you let off the throttle or you cut torque, the dogs disengage momentarily before the engine goes to deceleration. And so in that window of opportunity when the dogs are engaged and then they're falling back into the opposite direction, there's a window of opportunity where you can shift the car very fast if you just reduce torque. So what I'm doing here is I'm working on the flat shifting because it's a trial and error process of removing incremental amounts of spark. And you also want to reintroduce your ignition timing when the spark cuts back on smoothly. So I'm just kind of playing with this to get that part throttle drivability nice. And then when we go wide open throttle, we'll have to cut all the spark and you'll hear it be really loud with the big backfire. So now we're going to go wide open throttle. So one thing that we were wondering on the dyno is, could the inlet screen that's protecting the turbocharger cause a restriction because of its small surface area? Could this be causing the car to lose some top end? So we're going to use this larger filter, which is a velocity stack style from S&B, and we're going to see if we see a perceived difference. If there's no difference, then we might consider just going back to the turbo guard. All right guys, so we did our back-to-back run between the turbo guard and the S&B velocity stack filter. We didn't really notice much change. At first we picked up about 30-40 horsepower, but that was because the car cooled down, the intake charge temperatures were better. So we did another run back-to-back. It was about exactly the same as it was with the original filter. So what that tells us is that we're not at the flow limit of these filters unless we were to just maybe consider running without the filter, but we're making so much horsepower that it's really not a problem. So as you can see, it's pretty consistent with like the last dyno run that we did last year. We're up around 940 horsepower, which is our peak. And we're actually making this at much less boost. So now we're making 940, almost 1,000 horsepower under 10 PSI. It's around 9 PSI. Last year we made a little over 1,000. I think it was like 1,020 or 1,030,
40, something like that, yeah.
And that was around 11.5 PSI. So as you can see, basically the reason why it's making more power is because you can see the horsepower curve carries out further, whereas last year on the smaller turbo, it was falling off. So Again, people are wondering, like, why did we put a 119 millimeter compressor on it? Well, it's not because we want to make a lot more power right now. It's because we want that power to carry higher so we can run less boost and have a better efficiency out of the engine. The next thing we look at is the exhaust manifold absolute pressure to manifold absolute pressure, which is EMAP to MAP ratio. That's basically your back pressure to your boost pressure, but we have to add atmosphere to each one of those so that we can account for the proportion of atmosphere that we're under at sea level. But essentially that tells us how efficient the turbocharger and the engine is. And generally, when you start going up and asking more power out of the turbocharger, you'll see that ratio get worse, meaning you have more back pressure that's building up on the turbine side relative to the intake side, which is causing pumping losses, and it's loading down the shaft of the turbocharger, and you're starting to lose performance out of the engine. What's really interesting in my situation is as we go up in boost, the EMAP to MAP ratio gets better and better and better to where it's nearly in absolute values in terms of exhaust manifold absolute to manifold absolute. It's almost a 1.1 to 1 when you're up around 1 bar or 1 atmosphere of boost. Still see that the power is falling on the top end. It's not quite pulling all the way to 9,000. It's starting to fall around 8,100 RPM. And yes, we have more overall power in the power band, but I would prefer to see it pull higher. So I want to dig down and try to figure out what is the bottleneck, because now we've eliminated the possibility of it likely being the turbocharger. And I think what's next on the list is something we're going to have to unpack later in this video. So now let's go drive it home and let's take it for a rip. As soon as I start getting into the throttle and really getting after it, I have to slow down for traffic, and then Lindy comes running up behind me telling me that she sees smoke. And I'm like, I was just about to hit the power band.
I just see smoke.
We were like 4,500 RPM in boost, fourth gear. I could feel it coming on. Wastegates are about to open. The whole party's about to begin for the first time on the street. And then we've got this smoke issue. I'm like, damn it, dude. What is going on?
With the heat shield on it. What do you...
Huh? I don't know. I think it's gonna catch on fire. I think I can make it to the next exit. Make a lot of noise if we're on fire.
So we decided, all right, it looks like it's oiled. It's coming from the oil return. Let's just start and stop the car. So we started the car, drive it down to the next exit, turn it off.
Need water?
I need a screwdriver. a long screwdriver to wipe it up with.
And every time I pulled into like a gas station or an intersection, I would jump out of the car and with a stick, I would try to wipe up whatever oil was leaking from the bottom of the CHR.
I'm trying to wipe this oil up. It's so hot I can't touch it now.
I'm really thankful that Lindy helped me limp this thing back. If she wasn't behind me, oh man, that would have been bad. And also guys, remember I said, I don't want to test the car with the tail on in case we have a fire. Hell yeah, this is the best problem ever. Bolts are loose, even with Nord locks and Loctite. So I got the turbo back off, and lucky enough, it wasn't the O-ring. So the O-ring goes right down here in this groove, and it seals to the bottom of the CHRA, and the O-ring's actually perfectly fine. And lucky enough, or unlucky enough, whichever way you want to look at it, is these bolts that go through the mount on the backside. And I even had Nord lock washers. So I'm gonna try to find a high temperature, like a much higher temperature Loctite. And we're gonna give it a go with the Nord washers and a Loctite, and I'm gonna be sure to double check the torque setting. But I'm pretty sure it was just vibration that worked it loose from heat cycles. And I've got some new 12.9 grade hardware, which is a step up in tensile strength from the original stainless steel bolts that come with it. We've got the Nord lock washers and this Loctite 246, which is supposed to be a little bit stronger and hold up to the high heat. And I've cleaned out the threads or the bolt holes really nicely. So I get the turbocharger back together. I'm about to put it back on the car, and then I realized, man, like, I need another failsafe here. This just isn't hardcore enough. So I took it over to my buddy Tim's house, who is a jet mechanic, and he helped me drill the mount, and we literally put safety wire through it.
You know what I'm saying? It's bigger than the wire. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, safety wired all you to 12 twists per inch. You know what I'm saying?
Jesus. They burn that into your brain. And now there's no way those babies are backing out. It's gonna have to pull the threads and destroy the frickin' CHRA before the bolt comes loose, all right? You said 12 twists per inch?
It's more than that. It's actually more. That number's wrong. I think it's 18 to 24.
Jesus.
If there's any other crew chiefs watching, you know what I'm saying? You can correct my numbers.
So I thought about putting the car back together and going out and doing one more rip, but before I did that, decided to look at the data. And when I'm going back through the logs, I noticed something. The exhaust gas temperatures over 6,000 RPM are starting to spread out on rotor 1 and 5. So the outer two rotors are running significantly hotter than the middle three. And now usually you always have a variation across an intake manifold of airflow, but in this situation, it seems like it's much more severe than usual. Not to say that it can't be corrected with fuel trims, but it's just not something I'm used to seeing to this degree. I'm after having the most optimum setup. This is a research and development project. This is all of my passion and time in 6 years, and I want to get this thing right before I go out there and drive the hell out of it. Yes, we can settle for what we have, and I think it's phenomenal fabrication work that was done with our hands, but I would rather try to take another look at this. So when I was at the Deals Gap Rotary Rally event, I came across some really cool cars. One of my favorite cars was this guy named Alfie, and he has a Volkswagen with a 13B in the back where he did all of his own intake, manifold design, and exhaust. It's the most incredible artistic piece. Another car that struck me while I was there is an FB, first generation RX-7. And when he popped the hood, he had a 3D printed intake manifold and exhaust manifold. His name is Justin Mitchell, and he was there with his buddy Carl. They own the shop Bad Cat Engineering up in Maryland. And I'm looking at this thing and going, I have not seen this sort of technology in person. I thought this was like unaffordable. And I'm like, holy crap, man. So I start talking to these guys and they're just extremely intelligent. They tune on Imtron computer systems. He's got an S2000 rear end in his car. It's just like he does all kinds of phenomenal fabrication work. They tune RB motors and rotaries.
NSX 6-to-1 header set. So we call it the maximum meows system. Designed this spiral collector and it came out so well that we just kept developing the kit.
And so we get to talking, we're hanging out, we become really good friends. And then I explained to him this intake bias situation and he's like, dude, let's make you a new intake manifold with the new technology. I want to show you the results of having my current model flow tested in software. I want to thank Jeff Pritchett, who is an engineer that I also met at DGRR. He built his own SLC Superlight.
Dude, it's done. I was so freaking right. So obviously you got the bias coming down the main runner jet all the way to 5, and that's creating a huge flow directly into rotor 5.
Anytime you're making a sharp 90-degree bend like that is not ideal. It can be done. Ideally, you would have an area for the air to have an expansion chamber here to slow it down to make the bend. But ultimately, line of sight is just your best option.
But what's going on in 1, like I said, was turbulence. So you can see there's a vortex actually forming here, which is creating a low pressure spot. So when that, low pressure spot, meaning there's more of a pressure drop from here to the runner. So when the port opens up, it creates a bigger vacuum and you get more air into rotor 1. So 2 different effects that are happening and creating 1 and 5 lean. And if we look down here at the table, we can see mass flow rate on 1 is 0.5, and that's pounds per second. And then if we come down here and mass flow rate on 5, we got 0.5 as well. The others are hovering about 0.4, 0.43 or so. So you're looking at maybe between like 10 and 15% difference between like rotors 1 and 5 and the others. And rotors 1 and 5 are pretty close. So yeah, that's your problem for sure, man.
The other thing I notice is then we look at the manifold air pressure, which is the boost inside the intake manifold, and we look at it at a very high speed trace, 1 millisecond sample rate. We see that we have a sine wave, which is the pressure oscillation inside the intake, which is probably because of the rotors opening and closing. And it's a pretty good consistent frequency, but once we get over around 7,000 RPM, which is that peak torque that the motor makes its maximum volumetric efficiency, we start to see that the sine wave grows in amplitude. It immediately starts wavering. So you can see right here where it starts to grow, right here in this area. This is where it accelerates in amplitude. And that's simultaneously dropping in volumetric efficiency. The volumetric efficiency is flat, and I'm starting to pull fuel right here. Simultaneously, the wave is expanding in amplitude. And it becomes a stronger amplitude all the way out to redline. So what this tells me is that potentially we're getting rejection of the air back out of the port. That's just my theory on this, kind of my hunch on this. But when we look at the intake runner length and we take into account the design of the intake manifold, it is potentially a thing that we need to shorten the intake runners and also address the intake airflow bias on rotor 1 and 5. So thank you guys for watching. I know you're ready to see this car back out there. You want to see it ripping on the street. Trust me, I want to feel that 4th gear all the way to 9,000 RPM. I'm ready to turn that power up. But I want to get this thing perfect first. And if it takes a few more weeks to get this right and put a different intake on the car just to say we tried it, then it's worth doing so. And we can always go back to the setup that we have, but it's worth the wait to test. This is all about pushing your limits and learning new things. It's all about science. So thank you guys for following. I'm David Zachary Mazzei. Please stay tuned for the next video when these guys come out from Bad Cat Engineering and they scan my car, and we're gonna go into the detailed engineering and design process of making this new manifold. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day.